Welcome back to McMahon Stadium in Calgary. We are moments away from the kickoff of the 2010 Western Final between the Roughriders and the Stampeders. The temperature right now is minus 17. With the wind chill, feels a little bit more like minus 24. And just like the Grey Cup last year, there's a lot of green in the crowd here, so it won't necessarily be an all-home game for the Stamps. Dave Randorf, Jock Climbey, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. The Calgary Stampeders boys finished with 13 wins, best in the league, 626 points, best in the league, and they're right back in the West Division Final. The Saskatchewan Roughriders stumbled down the stretch, but rediscovered the magic last week, and there are 27 guys in the lineup today that had the heartbreak in the Grey Cup right here a year ago. 1991 was the Grey Cup you played, and you said it was freezing, and this reminds you of it today.
Without question, Dave, and as both these quarterbacks have been outstanding all season long through the air and on the ground, and they certainly have the ability to be difference makers on the ground, but they both have knocks going against them about ball security. Ball security in these conditions shows he's going to be paramount, and which quarterback handles that the best, most likely that team's moving forward.
And also on defense for these Riders, Barron Simpson, middle linebacker, has to have an outstanding game. And also James Patrick, free safety for the Riders. Can he intercept Henry Burris one more time? He did it 3 times in the regular season. He's got to get one today.
And Schultz, I think the best matchup and the one to watch is the receiving corps for Saskatchewan against Calgary's DBs. Calgary plays man-to-man defense 80 to 85% of the time. That's unheard of, which means that this is not a cerebral game for Darren Durant. It's a track meet for his receivers, and for Darren, it's about target practice. He cannot take 2.5 quarters to find his range and his rhythm against these Calgary Stampeders.
It has been the best rivalry in the Canadian Football League for the last 2-3 seasons. Calgary and Saskatchewan for the West Division trip to go a little bit north to Edmonton. Let's take you upstairs to the booth to the two guys that are going to call the action today. Here's Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, David. Yes, it's the league's hottest rivalry on the coldest day of the year. It is Saskatchewan and Calgary in the 2010 Western Final from McMahon. The most frigid playoff environment in over a decade. How will the conditions affect the game?
In conditions like this, generally speaking, the field conditions favor the offense. The weather conditions will favor the defense. It's tougher to concentrate when it starts to snow and it gets cold offensively. Henry Burris is the CFL All-Star in 2010 for the first time in his 12-year career. And Darren Durant, 1 win away from getting his team back to the Grey Cup championship.
There's Ken Miller, who looks for a return trip to the Cup after last year's 27-17 win over the Stampeders. And on the other sideline, it is the 3rd consecutive Western Final for John Hufnagel. His team's record this year, 13-5, which happened to be the same record when they won the Cup in 2008. The host team has won 6 of the last 8 meetings in the Western Final. Alouettes await as Eddie Johnson kicks it off, and we're underway. And the return from John Cordish will provide Calgary with good field position up to the 48-yard line.
Finalists out of the West for the outstanding player in the Canadian Football League. Henry Burris can do it both through the air. Leads the league in 2010 in touchdown passes and with his legs. His inspirational leader in that receiving corps is Nick Lewis, 1,262 yards on the season, and they get right tackle Edwin Harrison back in the lineup after missing the last game of the regular season.
These two teams combined for 200 points in their 3 meetings. Joffrey Reynolds, the ball carrier in the first play of the game, and there's Barron Simpson with a quick tackle back in the lineup for the Roughriders at middle linebacker.
And in conditions like this, the run game that much more important. That means the middle of the D-line is going to have to man up, and that's Keith Sholigan and Marcus Adams, and it includes Barron Simpson. Back in the lineup. He missed the semifinal with an ankle. He's toughing it out in this one, the final. So is Omar Morgan.
Calgary, 15-yard penalty will be enforced from the end of the play. 2nd down.
Andre Prue in charge, and he did not provide a number, but a major foul on the opening play from scrimmage against Calgary will march it back to the Stampeder 37. Our starting lineups are brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right. We're told that Nick Lewis draws the infraction. 2nd and 23 for the Stampeders. And the pass is complete underneath, and Kenyon Rambo with the catch, and Rambo will be tossed out close to midfield at the 53-yard line, short of the first down.
Now that penalty was on Nick Lewis, trying to assert himself early physically in this game. He's coming out on Tad Cornegay on that previous play. Little physical action there, and then a left hook to the jaw. That draws the flag. Nick Lewis puts his offense in a bind. They have to punt the football in their first series.
So Brooke Dales and the Calgary punt team onto the field, and Ryan Grace Mullen has dropped deep. Good boot, and Grace Mullen's going to let it bounce into the end zone. And this will be the first points of the Western Final, that long 77-yard Burke-Dales punt. So first blood for the Stamps. And now Darian Durant will lead the Saskatchewan Roughriders out.
Two 2-0 in the playoffs, 24 wins as a starter. Darian Durant 24-15-1. 2 years as a starter for Saskatchewan. Andy Fantu should be matched up on Brandon Browner again in this game. We'll watch that matchup. Jeremy O'Day, the center, the offensive lineman nominee from the Riders.
3 games over 300 yards for Durant against Calgary. And the handoff inside Wes Cates is up to the 40, and Cates has 5 on his first touch of the game.
Again, when you talk about running game and run defense, the interior of the defensive line so important. Tom Johnson, 3 games versus Saskatchewan, 7 tackles, 1 sack. That means Jawan Simpson, the defensive finalist, Defensive Player of the Year out of the West. And there's Brandon Browner. We're going to watch that matchup. Browner on Andy Fantus. The defense coordinator Chris Jones said they're going to go back to it.
Checking up on that play was defensive end Justin Phillips out of Laurier, who will shuttle in and out of the Calgary defense.
Andy Fantus, one big game against Calgary before the Stampeders went to that man-to-man matchup. Had over 200 yards, 255 to be exact, in that game. Was shut out in one game when they did put Browner on him, play in and play out, and they're matching up early and often in this one.
And when he was shut out, Chris Getzlaff had a 201-yard receiving game. 2nd and 5. And Durant with the pass. Getzlaff's got it. And a first down as Keon Raymond takes Getzlaff into the Saskatchewan bench.
Well, Jock Climby mentioned it just before the game began. It won't be a real cerebral game if Calgary makes it simple like that. I mean, there's the matchup of Fantus and Browner on the outside, and you see the guy that's going to get a favorable matchup inside will be Chris Getzlaff on Keon Raymond.
Now 4 Roughriders line up in an I formation behind Durant, and now they'll scatter. And 6 receivers out. Durant looks inside, Getzlaff another catch, lunging across midfield and into Calgary territory at the Stampeder 54.
Chris Getzlaff has had 3 of the 4 of the best games of his career against the Calgary Stampeders, including this year a 5-catch, 201-yard game. As you mentioned, Chris, we had 2 touchdowns in that one, and sometimes it's as simple as just getting a favorable matchup.
7 touchdowns in his last 8 games against Calgary. 2nd and just under a pair for Wes Cates straight ahead, and he's got the first down to the Stampeder 50.
Well, it really will be important to establish the run for both these teams. That means Wes Cates, who had 1,000 yards, a 5.2-yard average, 1,054, and 15 rushing touchdowns on the season. Really, games like this with the weather a factor, that run game and run defense paramount.
A couple of first downs on the opening drive for Saskatchewan. And back into the hands of Cates, the former Stampeder, pushes the pile down to the 46. Devon Claybrooks, the tackle for Calgary.
You know, I mentioned off the top, Chris, I really feel that when you get the elements that are a factor in a game like here in McMahon Stadium, the field conditions favor the offense. It gets slick. They know where they're going. The defense has to react. The weather conditions, cold weather, a harder football to throw and catch, that focus, the sting of a hit coming from the defense, that favors that side of the ball.
2nd and 6 for the Roughriders. Durant going through his reads, Usher on, and throws it away. As the heat was turned up in the interior, Charleston Hughes with pressure on Darian Durant.
He did get semifinal hero Jason Claremont deep down the sideline, but he wasn't in a position to throw because Charleston Hughes was in his face. But not a bad series just to get some run game established from Wes Cates. He gets some pressure off the edge, and because of that pressure, he's not going to get a chance to go ahead and throw this deep. He did have Claremont open down the sideline. Didn't have time to get it to him.
Really not much of a wind here, but it is behind Calgary in the first quarter as Eddie Johnson gets it to punt. And the native of Southern California will put that one out of bounds at around the 20-yard line. That'll be an illegal punt. Calgary likely to take it at the 22. Yard punt by Eddie Johnson. Calgary declines the illegal punt penalty and takes the football at their own 22-yard line. Double tight end formation. Big for Reynolds, trying to drop it off for Lewis. And it's incomplete. Our quarterback comparison brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL.
We both know these two quarterbacks control the football. Darian Durant led in yards. Henry Burris led in touchdowns, but they can also run the ball effectively as well. And I look to see them to do a lot of that here this afternoon in these kind of conditions, to get outside and try and push the edges of the defense. Try and bounce it outside if they start focusing too much on their running backs.
Second and 10, Stamps. Roughriders put pressure on, and that pass caught by Nick Lewis. That'll reach back and gets his big mitts on the football, and it's a Stampeder first down.
All Canadian Nick Lewis on the inside of this formation, going to come out and run a little out route. And he's made a living in 2010 off this route right here. He gets outside a linebacker, Jarrell Freeman, and very casually with one hand reaches back and moves the chains.
What a year for Nick Lewis, 5th in receiving, but number 1 in yak yards. 664 yards after the catch for big number 82. 16 on that pickup, back into the hands of Reynolds. And the Roughriders' run defense, much maligned this year, shuts the door quickly.
Well, and they get a boost with Barron Simpson and that run defense back in there, because they rank dead last coming in at 137.4 per game along the ground. But to get Barron Simpson back, now we'll watch his game this afternoon, because he's obviously playing hurt, trying to play through some pain of that ankle injury involved in that stop on first down.
Barron to the sidelines, and the pass defense formation for the Roughriders comes in on 2nd and 7. And Burris on a roll, looking downfield, and he has another connection. Robbie Bryant has the catch. And a Calgary first down up to the 52.
Saskatchewan loads up the line of scrimmage like we've seen them do so many times. They'll bring down the safety too, but look how many they've got up in there. 8 on the line. So what does Burris do? He's going to try and roll away from that pressure and get out and on the edge. Again, pushing the edge of the defense. Now he's got the option to run or pass, and he finds Robbie Bryant.
Last game for Henry Burris 16 days ago, and he only played 2 series, was 3 for 3 in Winnipeg. Looks sharp out of the gate here. And now looks downfield, steps up, Luke Mullender will pull him down just beyond the line of scrimmage.
I think Henry Burris wanted a horse collar tackle there. He didn't. I don't see any flags down. Burris going to, in that tight end formation, just take off down the middle. He sees a little seam there. Now here comes Mulliner underneath. Oh, he does a nice job of going down into the middle of the back of Burris and not grab the shoulder pad and up high on that shoulder pad area.
Closer to the number on the back of the jersey. And it's 2nd and 9. And the Roughriders line up. This time they back away. 3-man rush. And Burris has another completion. Jabari Arthur, the big target, kicks it outside and gets more yards. Arthur on the 08 Cup team was out of action most of last year with a broken foot.
Snap count cadence here for Henry Burris going to help him a ton, because in the middle of that linebacking core here is Corey Huckluck, number 47. Watch him come in disguise in the line of scrimmage, number 47. Now he's going to jump out of there, and he declares. He jumps out here early, then he has to go and reload again. That gives Henry Burris a chance to say, okay, I know what the defense is. They're going to drop linebackers, and he completes his throw.
4 different receivers early for Henry Burris. Play action fake, rolling out. Looking downfield, and now throwing, and Rambo can't bring it in. James Patrick, the safety, tracking Kenyon Rambo.
You know, these teams are out here throwing the ball quite well in these conditions, and Rambo limping a little bit to get to that sideline. They get Burris again on the run, outside of that pocket. He hasn't elected to take off and run with the football just yet, but both quarterbacks looking like they're handling the conditions so far pretty well.
Illegal forward pass. Calgary number 1. That penalty's declined. 2nd down.
So Henry Burris was across the line of scrimmage when he looked downfield. So it's 2nd and 10 for Calgary at the Roughrider 39-yard line. And they line up in double tight end formation. Burris lots of time, and now over the middle, he's got R.J. Franklin. And that's a 5th different receiver so far for this opening quarter.
An area of the Calgary Stampeder football team that people thought was going to be a disaster this year has turned out to be a strength, and that's their offensive line up front. Going to provide nice protection for Henry Burris here. He's only going to get 3-man pressure, and they're all coming from the right side, so they've got that locked down. That allows Burris to take his time, move around in that pocket, move to the outside, and find R.J. Franklin over the middle. Demetrius Sumpas back, Edwin Harrison back at right tackle.
8th play of the drive. It's Joffrey Reynolds inside. Brett Hopkins, first contact, and he'll hold on and bring Reynolds down inside the 10.
You know, a couple things I've seen early on for Calgary offensively. One being that Burris has had some room to run on the outside. They're pounding Joffrey Reynolds into the middle. Now, he's not elected to take off and go just yet, but there is space outside if he wants to get there.
This high-powered Calgary offense that led in 16 of 35 categories. There's the play caller on the sidelines, Dave Dickinson. See what he's got on 2nd and 6 from inside the 10. Burris quickly away, and that's too high for the intended target, Romby Bryant. And the pressure provided by Byron Bullock.
Yes, it was, and it was the Saskatchewan Cornegay over here, and that takes the attention away from Byron Bullock on the field side, or the short side of the field, number 30. He comes clean, unblocked, not picked up by Kenyon Rambo, who had come in. He had come in to try and help. So Byron Bullock is free, not picked up by Kenyon Rambo.
So rookie Rob Maver, the Guelph University product, comes on. Looking at a 15-yarder with R.J. Franklin putting it down. And it goes through, and Calgary has a 4-point first quarter lead. Roughriders down by 4, take the ball at their own 35-yard line, and Darian Durant looks downfield. Weston Dressler is taken down, and flags fly.
Well, with Brandon Browner playing on Andy Fantus, the way Calgary will play Weston Dressler is to put their other corner, Dwight Anderson, one-on-one in passing situations on him. So Browner will take Andy Fantus, and it'll be Anderson on Dressler.
Calgary number 33, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Weston Dressler with 8 catches for 150 yards in the semifinal against the BC Lions and 2 touchdowns. And here he is again, matched up one-on-one on number 33, the other cover corner for the Calgary Stampeders.
So the matchup pretty clear-cut as they were in the final meeting of the regular season between these two teams, won by Calgary at Mosaic. First down, Kate's touchdown, Tom Johnson, defensive tackle. What a year for Tom Johnson in the interior of that Calgary defensive line.
It really was. You know, he missed 1 game. He had 3 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, 39 total. You get up towards that 40 tackle mark as an interior defensive lineman, you've had an outstanding season. And I mentioned in his games against Saskatchewan, 7 tackles and a big sack in October.
So it sets up 2nd and 10. Here's that unorthodox Calgary defensive formation where they don't line up on the line. Flags fly. And Durant throws an interception. Malik Jackson's got it. And Jackson will be taken down by Weston Dressler. Let's find out what the penalty is all about.
That was a very different look and unorthodox for the Calgary Stampeders, even more so than what we saw in the regular season. They had Brandon Browner blitzing.
Outside. Saskatchewan number 82. That penalties decline. First down Calgary.
Jason Clermont offside, and the Malik Jackson interception stands. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Nissan. Shift the way you move. Well, Darian Durant threw 5 interceptions head-to-head against Calgary this year. Malik Jackson has one early in the Western Final.
Darian Durant was fooled by the defense there, just 3-man pressure, and one of the pressuring Calgary Stampeders was corner Brandon Browner.
John Cornish in the game as running back, and not much there. Tad Cornegay finally steps up and brings him down.
Let's go back and show you that interception by Malik Jackson and how it may have fooled Darian Durant. Go ahead and run it, guys. I'll show you the 3-man pressure as they start here. Now, hold it there. One of these guys right there, that's Brandon Browner, and there's 3-man. Now, Darian Durant has a chance here if he wants to go ahead and run the football with just 3-man pressure right through that alley. He doesn't take it, tries to force it with that many back in coverage, picked off by Malik Jackson.
You'll get some more. They're going to come back next week. They're going to run it to big.
Stampeders led the league in points off turnovers this year. Look at 2nd and 7. Burris, but he might have thought about running, dishes it off, and R.J. Franklin has a touchdown. So Henry Burris of the Stamps makes Saskatchewan pay for the pick.
The Calgary Stampeders led the 2010 season with points off of turnovers with 151, and it doesn't take them long. Malik Jackson has the interception. Burris bounces around, finds R.J. Franklin. The first time that really the field conditions affects play a little bit. I don't think Tad Cornegay could redirect fast enough. R.J. Franklin is in the end zone.
Looking for his first Grey Cup. And puts it down. Maver sends it through. And it's an early 11-0 Calgary lead. Well, the 98th Grey Cup is on TSN, and we have it covered better than ever. Extended pregame coverage begins at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, with kickoff of the big game at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. The Grey Cup on TSN next Sunday, November 28th. We know Montreal will be there.
Love you. See you in a bit.
R.J. Franklin trying to enhance Calgary's chances.
Love all you guys.
Of heading to Edmonton.
Now there's a lot of football left. here for the Calgary Stampeders. Remember, they had a lead last year as well at about this time in the game.
10-0 early last year at Mosaic. Neighbor sends it downfield, and Ryan Grace Mullen from his 18. Neither team with a kick return touchdown this season. Grace Mullen tripped up as he crossed the 30.
R.J. Franklin's going to run what's called a bang route. He's the inside receiver here, and what I mean by that is he's going to come in on Cornegay and then bang back outside. Watch R.J. Franklin now. Wasn't sure if Tad Cornegay took a little bit of an extra step here to try and regroup in the middle to come back to the outside. Burris buys some time, hits Franklin, and then he splits two defenders to sprint to the end zone.
Second postseason touchdown for R.J. Franklin. Let's see how Darian Durant responds. 22 interceptions during the regular season, and that is patted down. And there is Big Tom Johnson.
Let's go back one more time to that R.J. Franklin touchdown. I just want to take a quicker look at it's going to be this crossing route in here and then back outside. Now, Tad Cornegay, who's a strong side linebacker, is going to end up matched up man-to-man. There they are right in the middle of your screen. Now, Cornegay tries to redirect. He takes an extra little half-step shuffle, and that costs him outside leverage on Franklin. And then that can be field conditions.
2nd and 10. Flag down. Long out is complete. There's Claremont, the hero last week. Keon Raymond quickly converging on him, and we'll find out what the flag's all about. Looked like one of the Rider receivers may have been offside.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 89. That penalty's declined. Third down.
It is Chris Getzlaff, and it is a 2-and-out for the Roughriders.
Tom Johnson making an impact in the middle of that defensive line for Calgary early. He's got some pressure. He gets a knockdown there. Just his second on the season, but an important one. Get Darian Durant in a 2nd and long.
Mentioned that Eddie Johnson had just a 24-yard punt. First time he was sent out. R.J. Franklin awaits. Johnson with the line drive boot. Check that. Landon Talley is back, and it is Landon Talley kind of kicking around and sending it out at the Calgary bench and at the 41. Let's check in with Farhan Lalji on the sidelines.
Chris, the weather has been a story for both teams all week. In fact, they've practiced in worse weather than this. Now, we brought out a thermometer to show you how cold it was, but that thermometer got frozen at -10. Really, it's -17. With a wind chill, it's about -24. You've got to keep the players warm. You've also got to keep the footballs warm. There will be 12 balls used for this game. They've been kept for the last 24 hours in a ball warming bag that has been plugged in. Now, both equipment managers had to sign off on all of those balls to make sure they were approved by the teams for use. The officials also had to measure the balls. They measured their air pressure. They also measured their length and their circumference. And don't think it's a formality. Last week, one of the balls was rejected.
Need one of those bag warmers up here for the frozen water bottles we've got up here. Fans and
yeah, everyone's bundled for this one. When it gets down to where the thermometer is frozen, you know it's cold. But good for Calgary fans to get out. This place is sold out. There's some Saskatchewan fans in the crowd, as there always is. But way to go, Calgary Stampeder fans. The thermometer is frozen solid, and I guarantee you, because I played in games like this, that football feels like a brick once it gets out there.
Should be the final play of this opening quarter. A 2nd and 4 for Calgary, and back in the hands of Joffrey Reynolds, and he's going to be stopped short to the first down. There's Corey Hucklack. A little jostling downfield. Jabari Arthur in the middle of it with Lance Frazier. As the opening quarter comes to a close, Calgary with the lead. Our first quarter numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
You see both defenses are fired up to stop the run. Not a lot of rushing yards. We thought we'd see the running backs a lot more and maybe more prominent yardage-wise in that first quarter. Not the case. But both quarterbacks look like they're throwing the ball well, Chris, in these conditions. So that's a good sign For Saskatchewan, though, no catches for Andy Fantus, none for Weston Dressler.
Slow start last week. Remember, Darian Durant 6 for 16 in the first half, and again, slow out of the gate here.
Yes, he is, but he did bounce back in that semifinal for a big second half, and of course, overtime with 2 touchdowns and a very important 2-point convert.
Durant getting ready to bring the offense back onto the field as Brooke Dales gets set to punt it away to Ryan Grace Mullen. And Grace Mullen from his 25. Randy Chevrier there to toss him down at about the 38-yard line.
Boy, it was a real tough first half against the BC Lions at Mosaic Stadium a week ago. But Darian Durant regrouped at halftime, 310 yards total. And maybe most importantly, no interceptions for him in that game. 3 touchdown passes and was on fire in overtime with 2 touchdowns and a 2-point convert. And that game winner to Jason Claremont.
First down for Durant. Little play action fake and trying to get it in there for Fantus. Can't thread the needle. Tight coverage again on the top receiver in the CFL. And we talked to Darian Durant yesterday, and one of the keys to turning it around in the second half was a phone call he made at halftime. Called his dad, who helped settle him down with a quick conversation.
Well, he's done all his career. He's called his dad after warm-up, but forgot to last week, and then made that call, and it was an important one at halftime.
2nd and 10. And Fantus, they can't hook up again. Pass behind the intended target. And again, Roughriders are 2 and out.
And again, a bit of a shaky start here because he has thrown this football to Andy Fantus, who's coming across the formation and has a lot of space to probably turn around, turn up the field, and get that first down. And that ball well behind the intended target.
So another slow start. Johnson to kick it away. His best of the day. Landon Talley from inside the 25. Breaks 1 tackle, flag down, breaks another tackle, and Landon Talley's away. Up to midfield with penalty markers all over the field. 51-yard punt. And we'll sort out the flags when we come back. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Plan by Investors Group, a personalized approach to financial planning. Well, it would have been the longest punt return of the year for the Calgary Stampeders, 37 yards, but 2 illegal blocks on the play brings the football back to the Stamp 17. Fake to Reynolds. Now they dump it off to Nick Lewis, who's brought down quickly by Jarrell Freeman.
I mentioned off the top, Henry Burris is the All-Canadian at quarterback this year. First time in 12-year career that Henry Burris has been named. And John Huffnagel, every year that he's been the head coach here, has named the Western All-Stars as a group and then waited for the team to react. And then the All-Canadians individually, so they get their due. And when they announced Henry Burris, there was quite a cheer in that locker room.
Also the finalist out of the West for most outstanding player there is a catch for Rambo, but he's going to be short of the first down at the 25.
Of course, the last playoff action for Kenyon Rambo was back in 2008. And of course, he had a big game in 07 in the West Final. Over 150 yards there.
Roughriders needed a stop there, and they get one, and should get the ball back in decent field position as Ryan Grace Mullen awaits it around the Roughrider 50-yard line.
And with a bit of a slow start, not quite as bad as last week, I wonder if Darian Durant in 12 minutes calls dad again.
They might get a phone on the sidelines here. Here's Bryce Mullen. Gets by the first wave, but brought down by the veteran Mark Caliste. At McMahon in the deep breeze yesterday over St. Mary's. Darian Durant trying to get it going deep. Weston Dressler can't bring it down. Looked like he had a step on Dwight Anderson.
Well, it really did, and it also looked like that ball was put in a perfect spot on his outside shoulder. Dwight Anderson was trying to catch up and was on the inside of Weston Dressler. Darian Durant had to lead him to that outside shoulder. It's nothing fancy about the route. You see Weston Dressler line up real deep, get a good run at it, and now he goes straight down the field. You can see inside out is Dwight Anderson. Ball looked like it was put right on the money, and Dressler put it on the ground.
Roughriders have only 17 yards on first down so far in the game. Second and long again. Durant steps up and will take off first time today. And Darian Durant's got first down. Still going. And he'll power his way down to the Calgary 40 and run over Dwight Anderson.
In the semifinal, there was a big run by Darian Durant in a 13-play drive that was a difference maker for Saskatchewan to grab this momentum. And I'm wondering if Darian Durant may have just grabbed some Saskatchewan momentum right now with this run, because you gotta love the end of it. First of all, a good move to cut back right here, but watch him be the hammer and want to take on contact right there and drive Dwight Anderson right out of bounds. You gotta love that.
Well, that run last week was in the third quarter, so he steps it up a little earlier today. The leading quarterback rusher in the league this year. First down at the Stamp 40, a lot of time. Anybody home? The pass falls incomplete, short of Jason Claremont.
I've said this many times throughout this season, but I really believe Darian Durant is a better quarterback when he starts to run the ball a little bit, when he gets out of the pocket and breaks down defense with his legs. Look at him. He's a leading rusher at the quarterback position in the CFL this year with Henry Burris, number 2. Both quarterbacks were reluctant to run the football in the first quarter. They're starting to break it down a little bit now.
Durant over his last 4. Again, no production on first down. They look at 2nd and 10. 6 receivers up. Durant looks inside and incomplete. Could have been Claremont. Weston Dressler in the area too, and the ball split them.
It almost looked like Weston Dressler made some sort of adjustment on the fly there. It looked like Jason Claremont was running the in, and Dressler was going to come right off of that in route and break outside. A communication issue, and Durant throws it away. And he's talking now to Doug Barry, the offensive coordinator, to get that fixed up. But a good run, and usually it's a run like that that gets Darian Durant back in his groove.
Eddie Johnson's not in Orange County anymore. The Roughrider punter trying to warm up here and trying to pin Calgary into the corner. Line drive kick. And here comes Talley. And he'll be driven back by Kitwana Jones. 27-yard punt. Back at Frigid McMahon Stadium and on the sidelines, Farhan Lalji.
Chris, with conditions like this, footwear is always a concern for Henry Burris. He has changed shoes for this game. He's gone to, instead of a shoe with a longer type cleat, he's gone to one with more nub type, softer rubber cleats. These cleats tend to stick into the ground with much more frequency when there's snow on the ground. But because the ground crew has done such a good job of clearing the field, most of the receivers on both teams have continued with the shoes they normally wear. If the weather gets worse, they may change them. They also purchased 60 broom ball shoes, the Riders did, but at this point, none of the players are wearing those.
And John Cornish trying to find a hole, and nothing there. Barron Simpson, Jarrell Freeman meet him. No gain. Just a 27-yard punt, by the way, for Eddie Johnson as Calgary goes back to work on offense.
Barron Simpson's got the right shoes on because he is contributing in that run defense. The Calgary Stampeders, the #1 team running the football this year, averaging 145 yards a game, have not been able to establish Joffrey Reynolds or John Cornish yet this afternoon.
No, it's 2nd and 10. Chris over the middle and behind Kenyon Rambo. And that's really the only connection he hasn't been able to make today. That's 3 times he's called Rambo's number without any success.
Well, and he had such good success as the regular season came to an end. If you think about the last 3 games for Henry Burris and Kenyon Rambo, and you can see the field conditions there affecting Rambo trying to cut back. But between those two, 22 catches and over 300 yards in the last 3 games. So they were on the same page to end the regular season. And off it a little bit there.
3rd consecutive 2-and-out for the Stampeders now. And Burke Dales to punt the rock. And Bryce Mullen let it go over his head. And now fumbling it. And he'll get brought down at about the 27-yard line. So a costly misplay by Bryce Mullen, and it turns into, what, a 62-yarder. Well, we talked about the phone call Darian Durant had to make last week at halftime in the Western semifinal.
I usually call my dad right after warm-ups, right before we run out on the field, and I didn't this game. And, you know, I was kind of struggling a little bit in the first half, so you know, let me call my father. He's always that quiet confidence, that little whisper in your ear sometimes that you need to, you know, hey, you need to get it together. And I called him, and, you know, it just took 30 seconds. He said, look, son, you've been doing this your whole life. Relax, play catch out there, and you'll get it done.
See if he can play catch here. Reverses his field, takes a look, and has a completion up around the 35-yard line. And that's Chris Zarka, the fullback.
And Darian Durant, his head coach, who is a father figure to his entire football team, didn't know of the phone call and had said almost word for word the same thing to Darian Durant at halftime, which was basically just throw and catch. That's all it is, pitch and catch.
So both dads knew. Ken Miller mentioned that he was surprised the phone call was made. He said, we were pretty busy at halftime, but there's another pass knocked down. That's 2 or 3 that haven't got past the line of scrimmage. Big 77's having quite a day. Remember a couple of years ago when it was Mike Labinjo getting his mitts on the football in the Western Final in the Grey Cup? Well, Tom Johnson's playing that role here.
Yeah, I think offenses with the footing and the conditions are trying to throw on time and on rhythm. They get that one break, that one cut. So defensive linemen know they're not going to pump fake a couple of times. You can see the left arm there of Tom Johnson. They're going to try and throw the timing route. So they get their hands up. They've got a shot in those passing lanes. See if Eddie Johnson can get a better kick away. It is. Talley at his 30.
Landon Talley runs into Jocelyn Fournette at the 40. 11 on the return. A 45-yard kick that time by Eddie Johnson. So we're midway through the second quarter. Still 11-0 Calgary. And both offenses have gone cold.
Well, both offenses and both teams should be acclimated to the conditions. Both had to practice this week in extreme weather conditions. John Hufnagel, of course, had the bye. He had a chance that extra time to do some self-scouting of his team, take a look at maybe some tendencies they were giving away and try and close those holes before they face Saskatchewan in the final.
3 straight 2-and-outs for the Stamps. Burris in some trouble, and he'll throw that one away. Avoiding the sack with Mullender and Freeman. And now a flag flies, and did he make the line of scrimmage?
Line of scrimmage was Saskatchewan's side of the 40.
There was a Calgary receiver out there, and I think that's part of what Henry's appealing.
Intentional grounding. Calgary #1. Loss of down. 2nd down.
Boy, there seemed to be a receiver in the area. A little surprised at this call.
You can't challenge a penalty call. You could challenge whether or not he's crossed the line of scrimmage. So it is exactly on the 40 as the line of scrimmage will establish that. Now he gets in trouble, gets pushed back. Let's see where this ball ends up. Stop it there, guys. And right there is a target for Henry Burris, the Calgary Stampeder. It went right over his head. And that was R.J. Franklin. So that's why John Hufnagel was mad and he had an argument.
Well, it turns out to be a 13-yard penalty. A loss of down and a drop play. Tough for Reynolds. Straight ahead. Up to the 43-yard line, short of the first down, but he gets a chunk of real estate back for the Stampeders on that 15-yard run.
Usually a soft spot in the middle, depending on what Saskatchewan likes to do here. They will bring up their guys on defense on the line of scrimmage, meaning no second level here of linebackers. Now, they will drop 2 out, but watch how wide they drop. They open up and drop real wide, which opens up a soft spot in the middle for Joffrey Reynolds.
So Grace Mullen, who let the last Birkdale's kick get over his head, wrapped back to the Rough Rider 30. And a time count violation. They didn't have the right personnel on the field, and now Carl McCartney comes on.
Calgary number 16, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
So a rookie mistake. We'll march it back. And Birkdale's lets McCartney know he's not happy. Once you get over by the heater, it might be tough to leave.
Well, time of possession that much more important because you're keeping the other offense cold on the sideline.
Shorter kick and on a hop. Here's Grace Mullen trying to get outside and gets stopped in his tracks by Jabari Arthur. There is a flag on the play on the near side of the field away from the return.
See who got this penalty. Darian Durant starting to get, looks like
a legal block in the back during the return. Saskatchewan number 42, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Starting to get his rhythm back a little bit, but he hasn't found Andy Fantuz yet. We talked about the matchup out of the gate. Let's take a look. Brandon Browner jamming Fantuz on the line. Now, to be fair to Andy Fantuz, at times, he is not running a route. At times, he's trying to block, so it may look like he's well covered, but he's actually going out to block for a running play. But Andy Fantuz, 0 catches so far.
Got to get him going. Not sure the penalty was on. No 42 in the Saskatchewan lineup. And Malik Jackson will wrestle down the receiver, Kerry Coke.
Every now and then they'll go away from it, or Brandon Browner, even if he's covering Fantuz, will play off and give him some room. But I want to show you the difficulty of the footing and the conditions on the footwear for the offense. You see how Fantuz has to take that extra couple of steps to settle down there to provide the target for Durant. It was too late, and he went away from it.
Just 3 on the completion to Coke, 2nd and 7. Dressler has the catch and has the first down.
Weston Dressler, 3 games against Calgary, 17 catches, 300 yards, and he's got 3 touchdowns. He likes to play against the Calgary Stampeders, and he goes down to move the chains here. Andy Fantuz on the backside, Brandon Browner. Now, this is a pass play, and that's what Browner likes to do. He gives you a little tug every now and then. Andy Fantuz talked about that yesterday.
Down catch by Dressler. They go double tight ends. Durant, a lot of steamboats here, and he'll take off. And takes a hit. Tom Johnson collars him across the 45. And Durant has 5.
Andy Fantuz was asked about Brandon Browner and the way he plays defense. He gets up and plays physical, and And there was some Calgary media trying to poke him a little bit and prod him, see if he would talk about the fact that he's maybe getting away with too much defensively with that grab and that pull every now and then. And I think, you know, and I've said for many years that if the players decide the outcome of a play, that's a good thing. If you turn a receiver and really hang on, then yeah, you got to throw the flag.
Ken Miller would not talk about it yesterday publicly. Again, a lot of time. Anybody open? Chris Getzlaff is. Well, Getzlaff running away from Keon Raymond and finally dragged down. Well, there's the guy that eats up Calgary.
It is. It's Chris Getzlaff. And he works on Keon Raymond when they go with this matchup. Now, when you're talking about Calgary Stampeders trying to match up by size, well, this advantage goes to Saskatchewan with Chris Getzlaff at 6'1", 200 and Keon Raymond at 5'10", 190.
30 yards to Rant to Getzlaff and a first down at the 34. Short drop, gets it away into the hands of Coke. And he's brought down by Corey Mace. But the Roughriders finally get their offense in gear at the 3-minute warning at McMahon. Sitting by the fire.
Yeah, they're watching it on TV in some office. That's what they're doing.
Marquee guys. Here's Darren Durant calling quarterback draw. Getting down around the 15-yard line. Has 5 more. Roughriders still without points, but threatening here in a big 2nd and 5 upcoming.
Yeah, but you can see there's a little bit more of a hop in the step of Darian Durant in this drive. He's got the ball to Getzlaff. He's got the ball to Weston Dresser. A couple of runs on his own.
Get to the 10, Calgary shows blitz, gets it away, has a completion, and a first down. And Chris Getzlaff has another grab with Keon Raymond in pursuit.
Good route running from Getzlaff here because it's an out and a timing route, so he has to get to that spot on a tough field to make this cut and get to the outside. It's just a timing route right here.
Outside, Calgary number 12. That penalty's declined. First down, Saskatchewan.
Pressure coming, so Darian Durant cannot hesitate. But a good clean cut by Chris Getzlaff to jam that right foot in the turf, break out quickly, and gain some separation on Keon Raymond.
Remember that 65-yard touchdown catch from Durant late last year at a game at McMahon that might have been the coming out party for both Darian Durant and Chris Getzlaff. First and goal, Roughriders from the Calgary 6. Back to the air, dumps it off. This is a touchdown, and who is it? Chris Getzlaff. Who now has 9 touchdowns in his last 9 games against Calgary, including the last 2 playoff meetings.
Pretty good protection up front, first of all, for Darian Durant. 3-man pressure, so the Calgary Stampeders uncharacteristically drop into a zone down against their own goal line, and Getzlaff cuts underneath all the linebackers covering in that curl area and hits to the end zone.
Good job, buddy. Big plays, baby. Nice work, baby.
Big plays, big plays.
There's Warren Keating supplying the extra point. A big touchdown drive of 8 plays, 80 yards late in this first half for the Roughriders.
There we go.
Chris Getzlaff ran this route with his eyes. Very important here that he saw exactly how he needed to work across the field on this zone drop type of defense down in their goal line. This is a man-to-man team that Calgary plays defensively, but watch how he weaves around here and then gets himself open on the crossing route. Darian Durant leads it out in front of him so he can turn the corner quickly and get to that end zone. And Durant is in that groove again.
Well, it was a big third quarter drive last week that got them going. Here, 80 yards, 8 plays.
Let's go, get the ball back.
Chris Getzlaff, number 3 among Canadian receivers this season.
Let's go, 2-0.
For the big first half for number 89. Only Dave Stalin, teammate Andy Fantuz with more catches and yards among homebrews. Mix up here, and Cornish took it from Talley, who was having footing issues, and Neil Hughes with the tackle. And now let's see how Calgary responds.
I mentioned that game for Chris Getzlaff against the Calgary Stampeders in the regular season. 5 catches for 201 yards.
Couple of touchdown catches in that game.
That's the game that Calgary shut down Andy Fantuz. No catches for him, and Darian Durant did not hesitate to go to one of his other weapons in Chris Getzlaff, and a big game for him.
Nick Graham's now on the corner for the Saskatchewan Roughriders for Omar Morgan. That him as Joffrey Reynolds forward. Up to the 32-yard line. Always notice Graham when he's on the field because he's number 2-7 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, I appreciate that you remember that far back. But, you know, I talked to Omar Morgan before the game yesterday, and I asked him how he was, and he was injured in that semifinal. Nick Graham will play in his spot. Not surprised to see him not continuing here right now. He was banged up. He said, not much more than 60%, but I got to give it a try.
Second and 4, big pressure, and it's complete for the first down as Kenyon Rambo has the catch. Kenyon Rambo, who led the CFL in 100-yard receiving games, even though he missed the first 4 weeks of the season.
1-2-3 throw for Henry Burris, who does have pressure. I believe it was Mike McCullough coming from the outside. If he doesn't get this ball out of there in a hurry, he's going to have trouble from the backside on the blitz.
96 seconds remaining here in the opening half. Calgary first down at the Stamp 44. There's the long out, and wide open is R.J. Franklin. And you can hear them leather popping there right at the first down stick.
This is about a 52-yard throw, and I know it's for a gain of 10. But when you're on the hash mark in the Canadian Football League like Henry Burris here, and you're throwing to that guy way outside the numbers in R.J. Franklin, you've got to get it over 40 yards east-west, and then the 10 yards north-south. Now, I'm not a math major. When you add it all up, it's around 50 yards or so. I was below a math minor.
To get the first down right at midfield for the Stamps. Burris steps up, unloads, and there's Reynolds. That'll be brought down by Barron Simpson at the Rough Rider 50-yard line.
You know, it just seems to me that Henry Burris just watched a guy who kind of looked up to Burris and what he's accomplished in Darian Durant. Watch Darian Durant put a drive together, go down and find Chris Getzlaff. And is it just me, or has Henry Burris got another jump in his step, another gear all of a sudden?
And what did John Hufnagel mention yesterday? How do you handle the momentum changes in a game like this? That will determine it. Well, we saw momentum change with that Rough Rider scoring drive. Here's the Stampeder response so far. And now the screen is picked off. Intercepted James Patrick, and only Burris can angle him up. And he does slow him up and bring him down at the 12. The interception leader on the season, James Patrick, who had 9, has another here and a 49-yard return with 40 seconds left in this opening half.
Well, Chris, not only does he have 9 in the regular season, but he also has 3 of those 9 against the Calgary Stampeders. In fact, Henry Burris only threw 3 interceptions against Saskatchewan, and all 3 were to James Patrick, who reads that perfectly, falls off his man, and now he's set up Darian Durant for more points before the half. Now, in a screen play or underneath play like this, Burris is going to retreat and allow the pressure to get there. He just doesn't see James Patrick.
Well, a Durant interception led to a Calgary touchdown, and now Darian Durant unloads Dressler, and boy, did he get pranked. Dwight Anderson levels the diminutive Weston Dressler.
That was solid. At -20. That hurts.
And it might hurt Dressler even more when he thaws out. No gain, 2nd and 10. Time running out into the back of the end zone and a flag. And the intended target was Andy Fantu's Brandon Isaac in his face, and the penalty flag in that area.
I saw Brandon Browner make contact with Weston Dressler. I think they switched up.
Contact on receiver before the ball was thrown. Calgary number 27. After distance to the goal. 1st down.
Well, it looked like they switched receivers, and Brandon Browner ended up picking up Weston Dressler. Now, here's Dressler here. We'll follow him, and you'll see what happens. Browner's going to be right underneath the goalpost. They're going to switch receivers there, and he just flat out knocks Dressler down right in the middle of your screen. Coming across the middle, he steps into him, completely eliminates the crossing route. That's illegal contact, and they'll be on the goal line. Or half the distance.
Correction on the previous.
Let's see if they're going to reset the clock.
On the previous play, the line of scrimmage was behind. It's going to be after distance. 2nd down repeated.
Yardage was beyond the 10 yards before the play, so they're going to go half the distance on illegal contact. If it's pass interference, it's the 1-yard line. The ball wasn't thrown to Dressler. It's illegal contact. It's half the distance. Browner says, I was defending my ground, and he was square to the line of scrimmage when he made contact.
So it will be 2nd down, as Andre Prue mentions, and 2nd, and they have to get to the 1 for 1st down, but with 9 seconds left.
One try.
This is probably one shot before a field goal. Although can Miller make that decision if it comes to it? Looks to the end zone. What's Kerry Coke? He's got it. Touchdown. What a catch. Kerry Coke in the end zone. And the Roughriders have the lead.
Kerry Coke, who replaces the injured Rob Bagg, has just made play after play down the stretch. And this offense has not missed a beat. What a catch in the back of the end zone.
Ken Miller told us when he first went in how he attacks the football as a receiver, and what a great illustration of it there.
After the play was over, major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary number 33. 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Dwight Anderson better be careful. He might get another one. He was over there talking again to the officials.
And Warren Keene on to add the extra point. The Roughriders had been down by 11 and back-to-back touchdowns. This one coming after that interception thrown by Henry Burris. And you have to wonder, was there a phone call made on the sidelines by Darian Durant?
Or maybe he just hears Israel's voice in his head. But what a catch at the back of the end zone by Kerry Coke, who's going to work to the inside and then keep that inside position on the defensive back, Calgary Stampeders. Kerry Coke is going to stem there. Outside release, bend it back into the middle, keep that body in front of that defender, make the catch at the back of the end zone. Textbook. Now there's Dwight Anderson with Weston Dressler, and that's where he's called for the extra penalty, and he didn't like that call and chased the official around trying to get in his ear.
And you wonder if it'll be a costly penalty because now Johnson can kick it into the end zone, and Stampeders will have to get it out of there or else give up a point. So, it's a short kick and fielded by one of the up men, and down goes Tim O'Neill, who's probably never returned a kick before. And that will do it for the opening half. Calgary with the quick jump, but Darian Durant and the Roughriders with a pair of touchdowns late to take the lead.
The temperature has now dropped down to -25 with the wind chill. Hiya, Tootsie, Chelsea.
That's good.
And can you believe that Chris Cuthbert said we were inside by the fire?
We've been out
We were
roaming around.
on the sidelines, guys.
Taking
We're
in the
cold,
atmosphere.
in the elements, doing our job.
Exactly. Those guys. They have no idea. We're professionals. I'll tell you right now, this game is starting to look eerily similar to the West Final last year, a game in which Calgary had an early lead. Saskatchewan came back, and it was turnovers by Calgary, specifically interceptions by Henry Burris that turned the tide. He throws one there to Patrick that really kind of turns it around, and Saskatchewan's got the momentum, and Darian Durant is picking up speed, Chelsea.
And Dave, that is great news for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because whatever you want to call it, your rhythm, your confidence, your flow, for about the first 3 quarters of the first half, Darian Durant did not have it. But then it kind of all clicked in, and early in the game, he had time, he had receivers. That ball was thrown behind the receiver. That's on Darian Durant in terms of accuracy, and that was followed up a little bit later. Again, he has the opportunity here, set his feet, throw the football. That one is tipped away incomplete. He didn't thread the needle with the efficiency that you see. Later on, at the start of the first quarter, Darian again, he's got time, he's able to look, he's able to roll, he's able to have his vision. It goes into the turf. But as this half progressed, he got it together. Now, what does that mean? It means he has to keep it together in the second half. Stay calm, stay cool, stay collected, and gain confidence from the last quarter of that first half.
Well, Chris, I think there's a reason why Darian Durant looked a little flummoxed there in the first half, and that's because Chris Jones, defensive coordinator for the Calgary Stampeders, completely topsy-turvied on him. He had no idea what he was going to be getting. He thought he'd be getting 80% man-to-man because that's what Chris Jones defenses do. They've always done that. Well, it's amazing to watch what has happened here in the first half. Calgary's come out and gone 80% zone. They're playing a whole bunch of cover 2, and that interception you just showed, Chris, was another example of cover 2. And Darian Durant looked confused to me in the first half, at least for the first quarter and a half, because he was not expecting this at all. Andy Fantus was expecting Browner to follow him everywhere. He has not been following him everywhere because he's been dropping off in zone. However, when Andy Fantus has gotten man-to-man, Browner has been doing this. I've been watching those.
Everybody does
every play, a little tug by Browner.
Jockey, talk about the chess match. And I've been watching this first half here, and I believe that there's some things that Calgary Stampeders offense are not taking advantage of. You know, teams such as Saskatchewan Roughriders will have situational substitutions. On 1st and 10, you'll see one group. On the 2nd and 10, you'll see another group. And you'll see 5 Saskatchewan players go off after 1st and 10, and 5 come on. Calgary needs to take advantage of this. Go hurry up after a first down play. And what that will do is it will lock them into situations and personnel matchups that they're not comfortable with on 2nd and long. So every time you're looking for advantage offensively in games like this, there's one presented to you every 2nd down situation. Calgary really needs to make an adjustment there and take advantage of that player personnel matchup.
Matty, Henry Burris has had a great season. He is the CFL's all-star quarterback, but he's 0-3 against his old team in the playoffs. Is that in his mind at all?
Oh, I don't think so, Dave. You know, you're in the moment. Henry Burris has been playing this game for 14 years, and he's in the moment as far as I'm concerned. He's not thinking about that. He's thinking about moving the chains, doing what he's got to do in order to be successful this time around. Now it's happened 3 times before.
Hey, let me ask you this. That interception by James Patrick happened late in the half. It's the last memory he has going into half. That's got to affect him a little bit.
Yeah, it shows you exactly what I'm talking about. I was on 2nd down, right? If they go hurry up there, they catch Saskatchewan and different personnel, and maybe James Patrick is not down close to the line of scrimmage. He's back where he's supposed to be.
John Huffnagel said yesterday this game was going to go right down to the wire. He said it was going to be a slugfest. So far, he is bang on after a first half in which the Riders have roared back to take the lead. They're up by 3. For the fourth straight year, the team coming out of the West going to the Grey Cup final will either be Saskatchewan or Calgary. There's the score of the half, 14-11. There's other big news for football fans in Calgary today, and here it is, and that is that next year's Hall of Fame induction weekend will be held right here in Calgary. This is a great move. It was last held here in Calgary in 2003. It's been held in Hamilton many times over the last several years, but they've started to move it around, and it's great, and here's why. Earlier this season in September, it was held in both Saskatoon and Regina. The Hall of Fame game was held at Mosaic Stadium. One of the inductees from 2010 was Don Narcisse, and look at this. I mean, to go into the Hall of Fame, one of the all-time greats in green and white, and he did the jig out there in front of a packed crowd. And hopefully we'll see what that type of moment, maybe with a stamp going in this year. The class will be announced in January. Look at you, bearing the elements, wearing your jacket. You went in 06.
Yeah, this is not by choice, but I'm proud to wear this. I can tell you, Winnipeg 2 years ago really set the bar high with the Canadian Football Hall of Fame being on the road and taking the induction ceremony to the
chocolate donut.
Hello, Canada. We'll get you back to Calgary shortly, but let's update you what happened in the East Division final in Montreal earlier today on TSN. It's the Argos and Alouettes first quarter. Anthony Calvillo with time, and he'll spot a wide-open Jamal Richardson, untouched, 53-yard touchdown. Als are up 10-0. Now, we're still in the first, and the Als special teams take over. Tim Maypre picks up the punt at his 25, and he'll find the seam, and well, there's no praying for him because Maypre goes all the way, 85 yards on the return. That made it 17-0 as the Als cruise from there, win 48-17 as they advance to the Grey Cup next Sunday. They'll try to defend their title. Of course, the game to be played in Edmonton. And the Raptors, they beat Boston by 1.
John Hufnagel promised a slugfest. We've got it as we head to the second half. Roughriders by 3, and Huff along with Farhan Lalji on the sidelines.
Coach, the last 5 minutes of that half, things really changed. How do you get the momentum back?
Well, we have to. I mean, that's the type of games we have against each other. There is momentum change in the games. We have to come out and play a more disciplined second half. We had too many penalties in that first half on both sides of the ball.
You did a great job in the first half containing Fantus and Dressler, but some of the other guys like Getzlav hurt you. That's happened before. Do you make any adjustments to contain them?
We just need to tighten up our coverage on those guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, that'll mean Keon Rainbow has to tighten up on Chris Getzlav. Getzlav had a good first half, and when you talk penalties, 64 more yards than Saskatchewan in penalties for Calgary in the first half. So John Hufnagel talking about wanting to shore up that end, be a little more disciplined in the second half of this game.
Stampeders will get the ball first to start the second half. Once again, these two teams playing for the right to go to the Grey Cup game next week at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. And our congratulations to Mark Tressman, Anthony Calvillo, and the entire Montreal Alouettes club.
Hey, how come we're on kickoff?
Back there again. I wondered, do they just book their reservation to the Grey Cup title every year at the start of the season?
Well, it seems like that. Seems like they can. That's a good football team.
Eddie Johnson kicks it off, and away we go with the second half. And this guy's looked dangerous all day long. Landon Talley up across midfield and into Rough Rider territory. Well, Schultz, he mentioned it at halftime. The last memory on offense for Henry Burris in that first half was the interception by James Patrick.
Yeah, the 4th this year against Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders, including 3 in the regular season. There's his numbers. 142 yards passing, got off to a pretty good start moving the football, but then had a real lull in that second quarter and then the interception. So he's got to get rid of that, have a short memory, and come back out here slinging it.
They started the Rough Rider 53. Quick hitter Jarrell Freeman takes down Nick Lewis.
And that's exactly what John Hufnagel and Dave Dickinson do to get him in a rhythm now. And like Chris Schultz said at halftime, to get him back in that groove is to get the quick passing game. One quick step, he showed the ball to Joffrey Reynolds and then whipped it quickly to Nick Lewis. A couple completions like that get your confidence back.
Against the Rough Riders in the regular season, Calgary outscored Saskatchewan 33-10 in the third quarter. Stamps have been a good third quarter team all year. Look at that. The run defense slammed the door shut. Ryan Lucas, the Vancouver native, with a big tackle, and it's another 2 and out.
Well, it's basically a run blitz. In other words, they're going to put everyone on the line of scrimmage. There's Tad Cornegay and Mike McCullough, 2 linebackers there. Jarrell Freeman on the opposite side. There's your 3rd linebacker. They're all up on the line, and they attack. Jarrell Freeman off the edge, Byron Bullock. And you're right, it's a team meeting, a team defensive meeting on Henry Burris.
So the Stampeders squander the opportunity with good field position to score points. Now Burke Dales looks to pin them deep, and this one well played by Grace Mullen to let it bounce into the end zone. They do get a point, but not what Burke Dales was looking for. And now the Rough Riders lead by 2. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by The Plan by Investors Group. A personalized approach to financial planning, which is part of playoff action. These guys are doing some financial planning. A little extra money on the line here in the Western Final. A chance for the big money in the Grey Cup. Darian Durant, a lot of steamboats again, and he's going to throw that away.
Darian Durant off to a slow start as he got off to in the semifinal against the Lions, but he didn't wait till halftime to regroup. This time he regrouped in the second, had 102 yards passing. Of course, the numbers are going to be down because of the conditions, but a good second quarter for Darian Durant.
And did the passing yards come, for the most part, after the rushing yards were put on the board? This seemed like that 22-yard run got him going. There's a run early in the third quarter last week did. 2nd and 10. 3-man rush. Got a time, and now running out of it, and down he goes. Tom Johnson, or check that, Brandon Browner with the tackle and the sack.
We've seen this a couple of times where they'll line Brandon Browner up on Andy Fantus, but this time they try and confuse Darian Durant. He's just to the right of your screen here. There's Fantus there. Now, as he comes off, he's going to make it look like he's going to cover Fantus. Then he comes on the blitz. Now he's working on Dan Goodspeed, works inside him, and finally gets home.
So the Stamp defense pushes Saskatchewan back, and Eddie Johnson, good boot, has Talley backpedal to his 39. And Talley again kicks it outside, gets close to midfield. 14 more for Landon Talley on that punt return. 2-point Rider lead. Let's check back in with Farhan Lalji.
Well, Chris, Omar Morgan will not return to this game. He really wanted to try and give it a go, but his knee was not even close, according to team staff. As for Barron Simpson, he's still feeling the effects of his ankle injury. He took treatment on the bench at one point during the first half. Also went into halftime early, but he's good to go. He hasn't missed a play, nor does he plan to in this half.
Barron showing some toughness. And how about Lalji on the sidelines? Looking like it's just a nice spring day. Henry Burris in the ground for one ahead of John Cornish. Jarrell Freeman with a huge hit on the Calgary running back.
Jarrell Freeman talked about Barron Simpson and what he means to this defense after that big hit. And he can take a little bit of this nickname himself. He said the minister of defense in the middle, number 2 there, has made a reputation as being a tough linebacker. He says when Barron Simpson plays, he brings a thump to the game. Jarrell Freeman just brought a thump to John Cornish.
Did he ever? No gain on the play, 2nd and 10, and flags fly.
But you got to love Barron Simpson gunning it out. I mean, this is that ankle injury, the last game of the regular season. And for Simpson to just gut it out, get treatment in between. The cold makes those nicks that much tougher to fight through. And he doesn't want to be pulled off that field. I asked Joffrey Reynolds.
Offside. Calgary, number 85, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Kenyon Rambo called for the offside.
I asked Joffrey Reynolds, I said, you know, you got your job to do. Does it matter to you who plays in the middle of the defense? Do you care if Barron Simpson plays? And without hesitation, Joffrey Reynolds looked at me, oh yeah, no, I want to know if he's in there or not.
Well, Barron's on a mission, 10-year veteran of the league. 5 times he's led the CFL in tackles, has never won a Grey Cup. 2nd and 15, and Henry Burris over the middle, and he guns it in there. Big catch there by Nick Lewis. You know, Matt Dunnigan told us last night at our meeting that he'd be key today with those big hands in the cold weather, and that's a clutch catch to sustain a drive.
Well, you know, Nick Lewis is physical, right? He loves the contact. He doesn't mind getting down on the ice, getting down in the snow. Nice little double move on Tad Cornegay. Little outside fake. He didn't slow his momentum and then came back across the middle, had to go down low to make a tough catch.
29 second down catches on the year. That was 4th in the league, and a big one on 2nd down. 16 yards for Lewis. Now John Cornish with a cutback. Finds the lane. John Cornish down to the 20 and finally brought down by Nick Graham. John Cornish rips off another big gain.
And guess who's leading the way for John Cornish, the tailback in the backfield here? It's going to be big number 82 who's getting involved in this offense. You're going to see him in a second. Here he comes. Now 82, the guy that John Huffnagel described as a truck with no brakes going downhill, is going to lead the way for his running back.
Over 1/4 of John Cornish's carries this year for 10 yards or more, and he just ripped off 28 on that rush. First down Stamps. 5 receivers out. Now Cornish releases. Burris looking downfield and incomplete.
I'm a little surprised that Henry Burris has not taken off and run the football that much at all. I mean, he had another chance there to go ahead and run, probably pick up 7, 8, maybe more. He is a very good running quarterback, and like Durant, I believe he's at his best when he's mixing in the run and the pass. In 3 games this year, the Calgary Stampeders against Saskatchewan, Henry Burris had 72 yards rushing, 1 yard in the loss, 71 of them in the 2 wins.
Good hook up with Landon Talley on that one, setting up 2nd and 10. Lewis stays in the block, the pressure, and it's incomplete for Cornish as Kitwana Jones came off the edge. And the field goal team has to come on for the Stamps.
Kitwana Jones has the perfect lane here. Underrated defensive player in this team. He's got 2 sacks in the regular season against Henry Burris and is a perfect rush lane. He made Burris throw it around Kitwana Jones to get it to Cornish, because if he does, Cornish is probably still running.
So Rob Maver from 25 yards out. And Maver puts it through, and Calgary back in the lead. 15-14 early, 3rd quarter.
Wanted to salute one of the men and women in our Canadian forces, and we want to continue that in the playoffs. So meet Lieutenant Phil Durand of the HMCS at the Baskin as he checks the bearing during recent task group exercises in the Atlantic Ocean. Roughly 1,900 regular, reserve, and civilian personnel make up the Canadian Navy, currently celebrating 100 years of service to our country. I'd like to thank all the men and women of the Canadian forces.
Second half motion, 9 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. All the points have been scored at one end. Here's Wes Cates heading the other direction. And Cates with a good run of 8 yards on 1st down for the Roughriders. How do you get on TSN? Well, when the wind chill's minus 26 and the shirts come off, and
I tell you what, they've got to have some antifreeze in them right now.
Wow. 2nd and 2 for the Roughriders. Back to Cates. Bounces off first contact's got the 1st down. Ball popped loose. And Calgary says they got it.
Oh, boy.
Couldn't hear a whistle initially. Cates spun off first contact. It is Calgary football.
Well, we're going to have to take a look at this. And I didn't hear a whistle either, Chris. And it looked like Cates was spinning, trying to get an extra yard or 2. Now, my question is, and I'm sure Rider fans are wondering, was Wes Cates down by contact? So the contact is made there. His elbow goes down. When does the ball come out?
I think we'll see the challenge flag, and it already is out on the field after that look. Justin Phillips with the tackle.
Field was a fumble followed by a recovery by Calgary.
That ball might have been coming out. And so Jake Ireland's going to have to take a few different looks here to determine.
Any part of the body except the hand or feet touching the ground constitutes the player being down by contact if contact was made obviously prior to him on his way to the ground. So let's take the reverse angle, take one more look at Wes Cates. It's that close here. And this is a big...
Saskatchewan is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble.
Now knee down there.
Will be reviewed.
You just have to actually stop it just as the ball comes out or just before the knee touches. Let's take one more look. And I'm wondering about that left elbow as well, Chris.
Very close as, again, Justin Phillips with the tackle. Cates would have the 1st down.
He's got possession there. Now, the elbow's on the ground there. It's just hard to tell because of Jawan Simpson's blocking the shot a little bit. Let's take one more angle from a different look. Many times this year, even with all the different looks we have, there's not enough evidence to overturn a call. And whether it was ruled a fumble or down by contact, those calls would remain. I'm not sure. That's going to be that close.
And it's a critical call here. Either first down Saskatchewan or Calgary takes over in Rough Rider territory.
Oh, absolutely. And you're talking about a game like this with the conditions continuing to deteriorate. Field position that much more important.
Would be the first fumble lost in the game, so credit both teams for stressing ball security so far. Keats staying out in anticipation that it's going his way.
It looked to me like Cates' left elbow was the first to touch the ground, and the question was, or is, was there a shot that showed the ball coming out prior to that elbow touching?
Cates mentioned yesterday he was going to go without sleeves, as many of the offensive players have, for a better feel of the football.
And right now, both teams are trying to influence the officials by putting both offenses on the field. Calgary's got their offense out there. Saskatchewan's got their offense out there. They're trying. It doesn't matter.
You think Jake Ireland's checking that out?
I don't think that matters.
He's got.
But he's taking his time on this one. They've got to look at, this is a very important call, and they're going to take a good long look at this, and I don't blame them. That was tough. It's going to be a tough call to make. Elbow down there. Now, do you see the ball come out prior? You lose it for a second, and that's why this is going to be a tough one to overturn.
That's the one angle that when you first saw it, you thought he was down before the ball popped loose, but other angles are a little tougher to determine, and this is a long review for Jake Ireland.
It's one of the longest I think we've been involved with this year, and it's that important.
We're told 5-minute review. I think back in the initial early stages of review, it was a determined time limit, but.
Well, it is, but you know, I know the importance of this one. They're trying to get it right and take a long look. They also have to be concerned with the players, though, because they've got to try and kind of stay loose and stay warm here. You move into that 5-minute mark without moving around too much, you start to freeze up.
And in fairness to Jake, who is sitting in a warm review booth, it is a very difficult call. And
players have got to try and stay warm now while they get this figured out. Darian Durant with no sleeves. Well, here we go. I think if I could read lips, I think he said, is it a first down?
Well, it's a first down one way or the other, because Keats was down across the 45 where he had to get to. That would indicate it's going to be Saskatchewan football.
Well, if he's asking if that was first down gain, then that means they're overturning it. Let's see.
Some of the Calgary
Upon
defense.
Review, the ball carrier was down by contact, just a bit over the 45-yard line. It will be first down, Saskatchewan.
I think some of the Calgary defense overheard it because they started coming out before the announcement, and Rider Nation is celebrating that call.
I just wondered about that elbow. That elbow looked like it came down. Clearly, after all the looks and the time that they took in the control center, they did see that elbow touch before the ball was jarred loose. So Saskatchewan does get the first down. A new set of downs and a very important call, because it would have flopped field position in a hurry.
turnovers remain even. And as Schultz mentioned, you wonder if a turnover is going to be the deciding factor in a evenly played contest so far. I wonder if those guys shouldn't have huddled up with the heater with that over 5-minute review, but now they go back to work. Yeah, looks for Claremont, nice catch. And Claremont breaks one tackle and battles before Justin Phillips makes a tackle, and not much there for Jason Claremont. Pickup of 3.
How about Jason Claremont's semifinal catch in overtime? His first touchdown as a Saskatchewan Roughrider, his first touchdown in over 40 games. And it was a huge touchdown in overtime to get his football team to this West Final.
You could just see in the last few weeks of the year, Claremont becoming a more important part of this Roughrider offense. 2nd and 7. 6 receivers out for the ramp, and underneath there's Getzlaff, breaks a tackle, has a first down. Brandon Isaac pulls him down. The initial contact was short of first down yardage, but Chris Getzlaff has been a handful this afternoon.
Well, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that one of the toughest players out there in this cold has been Chris Getzlaff, who comes on a crossing route here. He's going to work underneath of Jason Claremont, who tries to get a rub on the linebacker there, Juwan Simpson. Just gets enough of them. Getzlaff breaks the tackle. You know, it's almost like he has a little hockey tough in him.
Oh, I
we
think
would get that.
I wonder how that had happened, and I'm sure Ryan's trying to keep tabs on this game. Getzlaff has had a terrific 6-catch game so far. There is an injured Calgary Stampeder on the play, and it's Keon Raymond who has been, for the most part, covering Getzlaff on the day, although I don't believe on that last play.
Well, that's been the matchup. They put Keon Raymond right on Chris Getzlaff, Brandon Browner on Andy Fantus, and Dwight Anderson on Weston Dressler.
Checking to see if it's Brandon Isaac in as a replacement for Raymond as Keats gets the ball and not much there. Justin Phillips again on the stop. The Laurier product's been active today.
Important down here in 2nd and long. Chance for Calgary Stampeders. Brandon Isaacs made some plays as a rotation player and an extra defensive back, so he's comfortable coming in on that defense. A big down here for Ken Miller's offense, trying to move the chains, but more importantly, that call changes things for him to get that field position. Chris Jones normally will blitz and play man-to-man in this situation.
Oh, 2nd and long, and here come the Stamps. Showing pressure, Durant's got Getzlaff again. First down inside the 30. 7 catches, and again, we mentioned the first half, he had 201 in a game earlier this year against Calgary.
Andy Fantus will find ways to contribute. That's the type of football player he is. If he's not a part of the passing game and they're going away from him for the ball, he can do other things to help out. He steps in, makes sure he seals an inside gap to give a lot of time to Darian Durant. But watch these blitzers for Calgary. They're not coming hard. They're waiting. They're a little worried about Darian Durant running out of there and taking off.
Formation in the straight ahead. Keats breaking tackles. And he has another first down inside the 20. Well, they fake Fantus on the end around. I'm not sure we've seen that play much for Saskatchewan.
You know, we have Chris, but with Weston Dressler, not Fantus. So they're bringing Fantus in here now. He comes this way, and right on the opposite direction goes Westgate. So a little misdirection there, and this time it's Fantus, and they get Lysak too high, chasing Fantus around the edge.
Four Roughriders in the backfield, 3 now scatter. First down, quarterback draw. Darian Durant pulled down inside the 10, close to another first down.
Got to get one block in there because I think it's Malik Jackson, the linebacker, that's going to try and spy on Darian Durant. Pretty much Calgary has left one of these linebackers sort of waiting in here to see if he's going to take off and run. This time it's Malik Jackson, but watch Wes Cates, number 20. He steps up in there, seals it for his quarterback to pick up another 4 or 5 yards right down the middle.
10 for Durant, the first down. He is now looking at first and goal. Durant 4 carries, 41 yards of the day. And he looks into the end zone. He wants Getzlaff in a battle, and it's knocked down. Milton Collins was step for step that time.
And a good no call by the official. Chris Getzlaff pointed to himself as if he wanted to come back, fight a little further back for that football, but Collins wouldn't allow him to get through his body in perfect position. Little push, little shove, but not enough to draw a penalty flag. And I think it's a good decision by the officials in this case because both players determine the outcome here, and Milton Collins is in great position on the inside. There's a little push, little tug. They'll let that go.
So it's second and goal from the 8. Durant with time, looks for the corner, flag down, turnover, incomplete.
Fantuz was matched up again on Brandon Browner. The flag was right around those two players, and Fantuz came back, indicating to the officials that he was held.
Before the ball was thrown, illegal contact on the receiver, Calgary number 27. Half the distance to the goal line, first down.
So it is a first down. It's the second time we've seen that play called on the Stampeders in this game.
When Andy Fantuz was asked yesterday about this type of play from Browner, he didn't bite. He didn't say a word. He said, look, if there's no flag, there's no penalty. Simple as that. I have to work to get open, and I'm not going to wait for the official to make the call. Well, the official made the call there. That puts it half the distance. So now you're down on the 4-yard line if you're Saskatchewan. Second penalty by Browner.
The 11th play of the drive upcoming. First and goal on the 4. Goes to Cates. Goes Cates to the goal line. Touchdown. So after the long video review, Saskatchewan holds on to the football, and they take advantage of the break to score a major.
And misdirection again. This time it's fullback Chris Zarka's going one way, and it's Wes Cates going the other way. Which guy's going to get the football? Darian Durant in the shotgun. Goes to Wes Cates, makes himself skinny through that hole, and gets to the end zone.
The old cross puck, and Wes Cates, the touchdown leader this year, problem. Warren Key's going to get brought down as he threw it incomplete, so they botch the single, and it's going to be a 5-point Rough Rider lead. How big will that be at the end of the day?
Tom Johnson and the interior defensive lineman been a problem for Saskatchewan this afternoon, but this time Jeremy O'Day, the center, steps in there, 14-year veteran. He gets a key block right at the point of attack on the touchdown for Wes Cates.
Well, last week it was a huge third-quarter drive that got the Rough Riders going. And here an 11-play, 75-yard drive. It took 6 minutes and 59 seconds off the clock. Landon Talley back the other way. And boy, he keeps turning up the return yards for the Stampeders back into Rough Rider territory.
Well, the ball gets slick, and when you're holding on field goals, you don't get that many reps out there, and this ball goes right through the hand. Look at this. It's caught by Keene on the fly, and Dwight Anderson. Now, we're watching this matchup between Brandon Browner and Andy Fantuz, and Fantuz is starting to get physical himself. A little cut block on that run to Wes Cates for the touchdown. Browner, a little pushing match going on. The game inside the game.
So under 2 minutes left, third quarter. That Calgary offense has been on the sidelines for quite a while. They go back to work in Rough Rider territory, and Bush hooks up with Rodney Bryant. First down for Bryant. close to it around the Saskatchewan 40-yard line.
Seems that's what Dave Dickinson has done, calling the plays from the sideline. He's quickly going to that. Whenever Henry Burris has some time on the sideline or is in a bit of a slump, he comes back with a quick pass, some quick hitch to Nick Lewis, quick hitch outside to Romby Bryant, trying to get a completion, get some momentum.
Boy, Calgary's enjoyed great field position in the second half, starting at Saskatchewan's 53 and 49 and their own 53-yard line, but haven't had a whole lot to show for it yet. And this requiring a measurement at about the 40-yard line. Andre Prue trying to get control of things here.
Hold the ball here. We'll reset it. Something is wrong.
Something's wrong. They got it. Because it should have been within inches. And they're going to take it back and reset. And
well, John Hufnagel knows the importance of taking advantage of opportunities. And you're right, the field position has been good for Calgary. They have not been able to capitalize on it enough. And how important was that challenge by Ken Miller on the fumble, or what was called a fumble by Wes Cates that was overturned? First down Saskatchewan, and leads to a Wes Cates touchdown.
Now the chain gang comes back out across the field. It is never dull when these two teams play, is it?
3 games this year, Chris. They've combined for just shy of 3,000 yards of offense. That's close to 1,000 a game, obviously. 978 to be exact. 200 points scored. Now, they're not going to get up to those kind of totals in these conditions, but you're right. It's a shootout every time these two teams meet.
Well, it is about a yard away from a first down. We had an overtime game last year, an overtime game this season. 5 points the difference here in the late stages of the third quarter.
Now, in short yardage in the regular season, the Stampeders will bring in Drew Tate, the backup quarterback. He has gone off the tackles a couple of times in situations like this for big yards.
Well, here's Tate, who has been on the sidelines throughout, and he has been automatic for the most part this year, but you wonder in these conditions coming in. And he is able to push forward and should have the first down. Drew Tate, who just signed a contract extension, the quarterback of the future in the Calgary Stampeders scheme of things. Although Henry Burris isn't going anywhere yet. And I think some might have been surprised that Drew Tate didn't take advantage of free agency to look for a starter's job, but he said he just had too many reasons to stay.
Yeah, you know, sometimes the grass isn't greener. I mean, you know, he's going to wait his turn, and when it comes, he'll be ready. I think he likes his head coach, too.
Punch formation wide side for Calgary. First and 10. Give it to Joffrey. Big hole. Well, straight ahead. And he's got a first down at the Roughrider 26.
I think the design of the defense going the opposite direction that Joffrey Reynolds went. All it takes sometimes is a step to get yourself a little bit out of position. Joffrey Reynolds takes the step that way, and then look at that nice smooth cutback. And now in these kind of conditions, it's awful tough for a guy like Barron Simpson, who is as badly nicked up as he is, to make up that ground.
Joffrey Reynolds, who averages 89.9 yards a game every time he's played Saskatchewan in his career. That's best among the franchises in the league. The only one he had more success against was Ottawa. And even this year, over a yard more a carry against the Roughriders than any other team he plays.
But, you know, that's a good run for him. But in that first half, the Saskatchewan defense really talked Calgary out of the run. And there goes Barron Simpson now, who is just gutting it out. I mean, He can barely put weight on that leg, and when it's this cold, every one of those nicks hurt that much more. You know he had to get some help to numb the pain before they even started the game.
Said he might have been 60% last week, 85% starting today. Probably not there now. Final play, third quarter, barring a penalty. And a first down as Burris gets ready to load it up, and he's trying to streak to the football, but got back on it. Final play of the third quarter. The Roughriders with a 5-point lead. Third quarter numbers are brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
Well, penalties are an issue for the Calgary Stampeders in this game, but still, when you look at the columns, pretty close game between these two teams, like it is every single time they meet.
It was Montreal by a bunch in the Eastern Final, and that might not shock a lot of people, but it really is no surprise that here we are heading into the fourth quarter of the Western Final, and it's still anybody's ball game.
You know, one stat that's not up there right now is Darian Durant rushed for 41 yards in the three quarters. Henry Burris rushing just 1 yard. And that has been a bit of a difference between these two offenses.
Burris lost yardage on the last play of the third quarter, so he looks at 2nd and 14 here. Nick Lewis in motion. Jabari Arthur stays in the block, but they get to him anyway. Byron Bullock off the edge gets to Henry Burris. And it's the second sack of the game for the Roughriders.
You know, and it's the second time that Byron Bullock has caught one of the receivers for Calgary inside. This time it's going to be Jabari Arthur right here. Now, Bullock is going to come here. He doesn't come outside. What he does is he comes inside. And watch how it takes 23 Jabari Arthur a second to realize it. He comes just inside the tackle, just misses him on that block, and that's the guy who sacks Henry Burris in the backfield. Byron Bullock did it in the first half against Kenyon Rambo, that time against Jabari Arthur.
And with the sack, it forces Calgary out of trying a field goal. Instead, Burke Dales will look for the corner with the line drive kick, and Bryce Mullen wants it in the end zone and gets it. So it's a single point, and Dales a missed opportunity to back Saskatchewan up.
That's two. That's twice now in field position where he's kicking on Saskatchewan's side of the field, and Burke Dales has been excellent. The all-Canadian punter this year. He's been excellent all year at it, but that's the second time he's put in the end zone. That single doesn't help Calgary. They needed the field position.
Yeah, that's the most improved part of his game, but not today so far. And so the Roughriders will get the ball at their 35. Until the last Saskatchewan touchdown, and that single, all the points had been at the opposite end of the field, the one that the Roughriders are driving towards. If there's a breeze here, and thankfully it's not much, it is at the back of the Roughriders. Durant guns it in. Is it a catch? Devon Simpson says no. Looks like they're going to mark it at the 41. And a 6-yard pickup for Weston Dressler.
Yeah, it looked like Dressler fought it a little bit, but the officials didn't hesitate to mark the spot, and it'll put Darian Durant in second in a real manageable situation inside of 5 or barely at 5.
Dressler, a North Dakota native who was frolicking this week in the snow at practice at Mosaic. Boy, some of the riders saying they've never practiced in conditions quite like that before. Here's the slant, and Claremont, what a sure-handed catch that was for the first down.
Well, one thing you know about Jason Claremont is he is going to be one of those blood and guts guys. I mean, he has no problem with the cold or the contact or anything like that. I mean, he takes a hit a little early there from Brandon Isaac. He fights that off and still makes the catch.
So a first set of downs for the Roughriders at their 45. And swung out to Dressler, but pressure was coming up the middle from the safety Wes Lysak.
Well, it's been fun just to watch this one-on-one matchup. I mean, game of football is the ultimate team game that comes down to 12 one-on-one matchups. You win enough of those, you win the play. You win enough of plays, you win the game. Fantus and Browner have been battling.
Safety blitz that time by Lysak. And we haven't seen that much today. The Calgary Stampeders used to do it a lot, and Darian Durant took advantage of it enough that they've discouraged it. 2nd and 10. Browner on the rush again. They dump it off to Cates. Touchdown. And Wes Cates close to a first down when he looked like he would be short. And we're going to need a measurement here, and Ken Miller may have a decision as the ball's marked on the Roughriders side of the midfield stripe.
You know, sometimes you draw them up and you have the perfect defense called, and it's not executed correctly, and a great individual effort beats the perfect call defensively. Chris Jones called the perfect defense there. He dropped everybody. He had his linebackers rallying to a swing pass to Wes Cates. They're close enough they can go now. Chris Jones calls the perfect defense. His linebackers come up in good angles to make a tackle, which what should have been short of by about 6 yards. And Wes Cates makes a tremendous cut to the inside and gets it into a third and real short 3rd and inches situation.
Well, the big boys will hunker down now. Roughriders have to push that football across midfield and into Calgary territory to get another set of downs. And there's the portion. It's a good one. Jeremy O'Day, the Western All-Star center, and Gene Makowski, who spoke to the team this week. 16 years in the league, and he told his teammates, I don't have many more opportunities like this. Let's make the most of it.
Played in 14 playoff games in his career, 5-time All-Canadian. Outstanding offensive lineman twice, and Gene Makowski knows that these opportunities don't come along all that often. They want to get back there.
And he did mention the practice earlier in the week, the worst conditions in his 16-year career. Double tight ends, Durant short drop, and that one knocked down by Charleston Hughes.
Again, you know, you talk about play calls and how you could have the call you want. I mean, Dan Goodspeed blocks Hughes here and does his job. The call looks like a good one. Little dump pass to Jason Claremont, but the play made individually by Charleston Hughes. So Doug Barry in this case calls the perfect play, but it's knocked down by an individual effort.
2nd and 10, Roughriders. Here comes the blitz. Durant will get it away deep, and that ball too far for Chris Getzlaff.
Boy, and Darian Durant had just enough time there because Juwan Simpson went on a linebacker, middle linebacker blitz along with Wes Lysak, the safety. Lysak's here, and look at the middle linebacker coming. Now they just get a piece of Juwan Simpson, just enough there. Wes Cates, he's going to take a hit for the team on that case, get in the way of Juwan Simpson. There was time, but just misses. Darian Durant just misses Getzlaff.
Landon Talley's been dangerous today. Eddie Johnson gets set to send it deep for Saskatchewan. High kick, and that will go out. Let's see where they mark that. In and around the 20-yard line, and right at the 20. 10-18 left at McMahon, 4th quarter. Back to the sidelines. Farhad Lalji.
Yeah, guys, it doesn't look good for Barron Simpson. The team says there's still a chance he might come back, but when Barron caught my eye, he shook his head and gave me a thumbs down. He's been sitting on the bench in front of the heater for a while. He just got up only to put on his jacket. He's not even trying to loosen up his leg at this point.
Hoping he can reload for one more week, but a lot of work to be done yet if that's the case. 4 points, Saskatchewan lead. Here's Henry Burris to work, and there's Nick Lewis. And he'll be bumped out of bounds, short of the first down. 5 catches for Lewis on the day.
So Mike McCullough will have to play the rest of this football game for Barron Simpson in the linebacking course. 6 tackles for him in the Western semifinal against the BC Lions. And he's also a coach. He's also coach on the field and a leader. He gets them lined up right. He knows all the assignments. A smart football player who will not hurt you.
8-year vet in his 13th playoff game. And Henry Burris doesn't like what he sees on
timeout.
2nd and 3 and has to use his timeout.
That may be big. And Mike McCullough there just moved from one spot in the linebacking core to the outside edge, and it's right then that Henry Burris called the timeout. And I'm wondering if he was just trying to disguise something in the call to get it out there. Career high this season in sacks with 4. 11 playoff games, and in those games 11 tackles, but getting a lot of playing time this year in special situations, and of course that semifinal last week. So Mike McCullough will go the rest of the way.
Last year Ray Williams went down with an injury, and McCullough had to play an extended time as the middle linebacker, and the Roughriders defense didn't miss a beat. 2nd and 3. Short drop over the middle. Nick Lewis has the catch. James Patrick the tackle, but Nick Lewis, another 2nd down conversion.
Calgary attacks the middle with Nick Lewis. Just inside, Joffrey Reynolds goes out, gets inside of James Patrick, and you wonder how much that Henry Burris thought about James Patrick and closing in on that football. Remember, he had an interception just before halftime.
Interception in last year's Western Final as well. That's the 3rd catch for a first down in this game on a 2nd down conversion play by Nick Lewis. Reynolds. And he gets across the 35. 4 for Reynolds. Marcus Adams on the tackle. Joffrey 10 carries, 53 on the day.
Yeah, and we talked about Barron Simpson and his run-stopping ability and how he's gutted it out, but let's also point out a couple of guys in the middle, and Keith Sholigan and Marcus Adams here, who have contained Joffrey Reynolds. He had over 100 yards in one of their games. It's been an issue for them, not here this evening. The run defense much better for Saskatchewan in this game.
Spruce Grove native Keith Sholigan trying to get to a great cut in his own backyard. Here's a heck of a Robbie Bryant breaks a tackle. Foot raised, and Robbie Bryant with a big gain in the Rough Rider territory.
First game of the season between these two teams. Robbie Bryant had 7 for over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Been pretty quiet in this game here this evening, but he's starting to break loose there. He sees the natural cushion. And I'm a little surprised that Calgary hasn't gone after that matchup a little bit more. No Omar Morgan out there. They've got the newcomer on the corner in Nick Graham, and they really haven't tested him until that play right there.
Was a flag late.
After the play was over, objectionable conduct, taunting, Calgary number 83. This is a 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, there's a costly penalty after a 36-yard play that'll inflame the head coach. 13 penalties on the day for the Stampeders.
Well, you know, yeah, I'm a little surprised that that drew a penalty flag, to be quite honest.
It is the Western Final, and I mean, that gestures something is not uncommon. Here's pressure on Burris. He gets inside. More pressure coming. Freeman's got him and brings him down. Jarrell Freeman with a sack. And that's the 3rd of the game for Saskatchewan.
You know, some guys, when it's 25 below, you can tell that they're cold and they're showing a little bit. They put a lot of underclothing on. They've got the long sleeves on. They got the thermal stuff going. I get the sense that Jarrell Freeman has no problem with the Colt. I mean, he's just playing football. He's having a great football game this one. He's secondary contained on Henry Burris. He had to drop in coverage first. Then he comes up. Look, no sleeves on him. He's barely got his jersey on anymore. He's gone.
So first the penalty on Bryant. Now a 9-yard loss. And they're back on their own side of midfield. 2nd and 19. Burris with time. Loading it up. He wants Robbie Bryant. And that ball falls incomplete. Well away from the intended target. So Bryant with a big gain, but then a costly penalty. And Calgary now has to kick it away.
Boy, penalty's a problem. You heard John Huffnagel talk about it at halftime when they came out. That's what he talked to his team about discipline and composure. And he is not happy with the penalty Robbie Bryant took on the sideline. Now, I think it was one that really shouldn't have drawn a penalty flag when you're just flexing your muscles like that. I mean, there's taunting and then there's just celebrating. He looked like he was celebrating. However, don't put it in the opinion of the officials.
There's Bill Fruit. There's Grace Mullen. And Grace Mullen runs out of real estate at about the 25. Rough Rider football when we come back.
Clock!
Who gets sent out of the West to the Grey Cup game? Anthony Calvillo by the fire, unsure, watching the second half. Wondering who his opponent will be. The Rough Riders have the lead in the football. Little pump here, Darian Durant down the sidelines. And that ball out of bounds as he tried to hook up with Gary Koch.
Darian Durant looking to put together a nice long drive here, finish with points and try and finish this game. If he wants to, Chris Getzlaf could be a target he looks to. Big game for Chris Getzlaf with the matchup. They're taking advantage of Getzlaf on Keon Raymond. Bunch of big catches, some tough running, good route running in the open field. With Fantus covered by Browner and Dwight Anderson taking Weston Dresser, it has been Chris Getzlaf.
Raymond out of the game now, and Bill Collins has been handling Getzlaf. 2nd and 10. Durant over the middle, wide open. There's Chris Getzlaf once again. Over 100 on the day.
Against the Calgary Stampeders. We talked about his 200-yard game this year. In 09, he had a 100-yard game. His only other. 110 tonight against Calgary. He's had one in 08 for 74. That's his 4th best of his career. 110, his 2nd best. All against Calgary.
6 catches for a first down, and they don't get the playoff here. Time count violation. And they'll have to march backwards. You know, Getzlaf only had 1 catch last week.
A big one.
And they might not be here if he didn't make it.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan number 4. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
You know, not only that, Chris, but when I talked to some of the Rough Riders yesterday about, first of all, Getzlaf in that catch, and they agreed that that was a big one on first down and overtime. It got the ball to Claremont on the next play for the touchdown that won it. Getzlaf made a huge block on Claremont's touchdown as well.
Doesn't make the catch. They would have been looking at a 42-yarder to tie the game. Quarterback draw for Darian Durant. And he takes a hit and gets to the 45 and has 6.
I really think this has been sort of one of those quiet difference-making plays where Darian Durant decided early in that second quarter to start running the football. As he, you know, he's not going to have one of his best running games, but it's just enough to keep the defense honest, something that Henry Burris just has been reluctant to do all game long.
Burris, the MOP candidate out of the West. He has a Grey Cup. But Darian Durant is 5-2-1 head-to-head in his career against Henry Burris. 2nd and 9. That ball batted down. Tipped at the line, and boy, that's been happening with frequency in this game. Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson's doing his thing. You know, I once had a coach tell me, well, you're like a painter, and at the end of a game, you have to decide whether or not you're proud enough of that painting that you'll sign the bottom. Win or lose, Tom Johnson can sign the bottom of his painting.
You have one knockdown on the year. Believe that could be 3.
That's 3
in the day.
That's 3. Wow.
Eddie Johnson. And here's Talley. Boy, makes you think every time he could break one. And he's got another good return up close to the 50-yard line. Landon Talley trying to kickstart a comeback for that trophy. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. Rona, doing it right. Stamp down by 4, have the ball at the 48. 4 minutes to go. And Burris under duress again. Downfield, and he's got a completion, short yardage, but he's got Kenyon Rembo, who's been quiet for the most part today. And, well, we talked a lot about the weather today. Frigid conditions, minus 26 wind chill, and here comes the snow.
Well, the wind has picked up as well, so Henry Burris has got to drive half the field against the Rider defense, against the clock, and into a driving wind with the snow starting to fall heavier.
I'm thinking if it gets to minus 30 wind chill, Lalchi's got to put a hat on. Big 2nd and 6 upcoming. Short drop over the middle and incomplete. Wanted Nick Lewis.
Tad Cornegay was in perfect position on the trail, and how important has Tad Cornegay been to this football team this year?
Mr. Versatility.
He really is. I mean, he's a guy you want in your band. He could play drums, he could play bass, he could take lead guitar. This guy can play it all. He's underneath, inside position, little push and shove. Nick Lewis wanted a penalty, no penalty there. They're going to allow that.
Asking for the face mask call, didn't get it. Still lots of time, so John Huffnagel sends the punt team on.
Wide side halfback. Wide side corner, short side linebacker, strong side linebacker, all positions Tad Cornegay has played this year. You think he should go?
No, I'm just wondering if anything's on here. Is this the spot on the field? Is this a time in the game where you might try a fake? Or do you just kick it away and I guess you just got to play conventional now, don't you, with 3:03 to go?
Set to read 3 minutes, 11 seconds remaining.
Or 3:11 to go.
Well, this is the place on the field that you try those things. Saskatchewan has been susceptible to fakes at times this year. You know what, though, Chris? It looks to me that they may not even put their punt return team out there. They may be leaving their defense. I see Tad Cornegay out there. Jarrell Freeman as well, LaRon Mitchell.
And Diaz does move it away. There's one on the field, and he's got his 20, and that's to eat the football, and it's still loose. And it's picked up. Wes Lysak goes. Saskatchewan gets back on it. That could have been a touchdown for Calgary. Jarrell Freeman instead gets on the ball for Saskatchewan. So that we'll get a ruling here. Is that 2 or 1? As the officials confer.
The ball was brought in goal by Calgary and recovered by Saskatchewan in goal. By rules, it will be Saskatchewan's ball, first down and 10 at the 25-yard line.
So Roughriders with the football at no points.
There's the man of the hour for Saskatchewan Roughriders right here, Jarrell Freeman, who keeps hustling on the play. The ball is fumbled around, fumbled into the end zone. They're basically ruling it no point at this juncture, and the ball on the 25 for Saskatchewan, saying that it was pushed into the end zone by Calgary and recovered by the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And we wondered if it might be 1 or 2. It's nothing. And if it was 1, they'd have the ball at the 35. But on the change of possession, they give Saskatchewan the football at the 25-yard line. And Wes Keats up over the 30, and it remains a 4-point game. And what a huge break for the Roughriders. And as you mentioned, well, alert play by Jarrell Freeman.
Yeah, and I call it hustle. I mean, that's a great example for amateur football players. Hey, it doesn't matter what the play or what you're doing. When you hustle down and you keep moving on the field, you never know what's going to happen. Jarrell Freeman hustles on that play. The play was basically over for him, but he kept hustling, got down there and saves the day right now. At this point, for Saskatchewan, we'll see. There's lots of time.
It's a big play here. If Saskatchewan can convert, they can really take some time off the clock and take a stranglehold on this thing. Over the middle, the Keats, and they'll be close to a first down. Forward progress is the 35. That'll move the chains, and we're under 2 minutes left.
Calgary Stampeders didn't even rush that time. They basically allowed Darian Durant to stand there and just pick his spot. No pressure. Even in the middle, Devon Claybrooks just stands up. He doesn't come even and push Jeremy O'Day backwards towards the quarterback. Chris Jones decides just leave him on the line and try and swat that ball down. And Darian Durant able to move the chains, get a new set of downs.
Number Calgary use their timeout. Clock running here. Durant working it. And they just get it off. Keats, the side. Up to the 44-yard line. And now within a 2nd and 2 of really taking charge. Wes Keats has a couple of catches in this game and a big 8-yard run there.
Well, this is when it's important. This is when your running game comes in. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have 102 yards rushing in this game and under 100 for the Calgary Stampeders.
Just thinking back to last year at McMahon, the Grey Cup game, Saskatchewan came up 1 first down short and had to give it back to Montreal. Can they move the chains again here with Keats? Straight ahead, pushing the pile, and he has a first down. And the clock will tick down. Well, they stop at 103 to reset.
Chris, all year the Saskatchewan Roughriders have been avoiding the question and asking the media and fans not to talk about how last year ended. But you know, for every one of these players, it's been in the back of their mind that the goal this year to get back was to erase the memories of how it happened, how it ended in the Grey Cup right here in McMahon Stadium. They're under a minute away from achieving that goal and getting back to that game.
Again, working that play clock. And they're going to take a knee here. 42 seconds remaining. And this one is just about done because they can burn off about 39, 40 seconds. 4-point lead.
Calgary can't stop it with a timeout. You're right. You can go. You've got 2 20-second huddles. And on that last one, if you snap it with 3 or 4 left, run around, kill it off, throw it up in the air out of bounds, you've got a chance to just kill the clock.
Under a half minute to go here. Working it right down. And now down with under 20 seconds to go. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to get a chance for redemption. Darian Durant celebrating. They want to execute the last 19 here as they, whistle it in.
And the coaching staff, Chris, are wanting to make sure that they run one more play. You don't want to have a penalty in the last play of the game.
Make sure you got the right number.
Exactly.
Winding down, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to the Grey Cup for the 3rd time in 4 years. They'll ride to Edmonton to meet the Montreal Alouettes in the 2010 Grey Cup Classic.
And Darian Durant, Chris, becomes the second quarterback in CFL history to take his team to the Grey Cup in his first 2 years as a starter. The other was Ricky Ray.
What's up? Good job, guys. All right, good. We'll set that up. Okay. Hey,
what a great scene that is.
Good job, dude.
Durant triumphant over Henry Burris on this day, and we have a rematch in the 2010 Grey Cup.
And the Saskatchewan Roughriders get the chance they've been working for all year. They get a chance at a do-over.
Down early.
Yeah, got him.
Down by 11, but 2 late touchdowns in the first half and a gritty, tenacious defense in the second. And Ken Miller and the Saskatchewan Roughriders are donning Western champion hats as we join Farhan Lalji with the hero of the night.
Darian, it didn't start well. You got down 11-0 real quick, but just like last week, just like last year's Western final, you stayed with it.
I mean, that's been a tale of us, man. We never quit. We never give up. We seem to show out when adverse situations come up. Just a huge win for us.
Once again, Andy Fantuz goes without a catch. Dressler had one, but you found Getzlaff, you found Cates, you got others involved.
Exactly. I mean, they're a great defensive team. If they want to take out some guys, we have other guys that can hurt you, and we did a great job of that tonight.
Protecting the ball has been such a big deal for you the last 2 games. You threw the 1 interception, they scored, but after that, you really seemed to control things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you turn the ball over in crucial games like this, you're destined to lose. And after that 1 interception, I told myself I'm not going to hurt this team anymore. You know, I'll take a sack, I'll throw it out of bounds, and, you know, we came out victorious.
Darian, you're back in the big game. Last year was so devastating for everybody. How much is redemption a factor in just getting it done right this time?
Well, I mean, we just wanted to get there. We took care of that. You know, we'll worry about the rest later. We're going to enjoy this right now.
Thanks a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chris?
Thank you, Farhan. Congratulations to the Roughriders. You know, back on Canada Day, one of the great games ever played, 54-51. Saskatchewan in overtime over Montreal. And who'd have thought we'd be headed to Edmonton in a Grey Cup game that will provide a rematch between those 2 teams who thrilled us last November, and we'll do it again next week.
True definition of a team. Maybe not Andy Fantuz, maybe not Weston Dressler. This time it was Chris Getzlaff. This team comes together.
Well, Chris Getzlaff had a spectacular day, and he is with Farhan Lalji.
What is it about the Calgary Stampeders that works so well for you?
You know what? I don't know what it is, to be honest. You know, they give us a lot of opportunities how they play defense. I mean, they leave some man-to-man coverage out there because they really like to bring the blitz. So, I mean, you got to be able to make advantage of those opportunities.
For you personally, they spend so much time with Browner on Fantuz, and they lock up Dressler with Anderson. I mean, do you relish this opportunity to show, hey, maybe they ought to pay some attention to you too?
You know what? I think you have to. I mean, obviously, they got some really good cover guys, and they did a good job, but you got to rely on some other people to beat man coverage, and we were able to do that.
You were part of a Grey Cup team a while back, but last year it didn't happen the way you want to. How important is this one to you, getting back to the big game and being part of a winner?
Can't wait. Nothing but excited right now. Defense played amazing. We got our hats are off to them today.
Last thing I'll ask you, it's a cold day. I know Ryan's a tough guy. Could he have done this today?
Absolutely, he could have.
Thanks a lot. Enjoy the week.
Thank you.
5th straight playoff win for Saskatchewan over Calgary, the 4th in the last 5 years. And our game story in this Western final is brought to you by Mr. Lube.
Well, what a game it always is when these 2 teams play, and we've got a little bit of the story from both teams. The Riders rallied 2 touchdowns in the last 2 drives of the first half. You know, an interception by James Patrick, a big play as well. And the TD drive into the win, 11 plays, 75 yards. And you know what, Chris, the other thing that I would add to that is the just over 40 yards rushing by Darian Durant. I always think that really hits some sort of switch for him. It puts him back in that groove. It also keeps the defense guessing. Henry Burris didn't do it in this game. Darian Durant did.
Some key first downs for Wes Cates, too, standing by with Farhan.
There was so much Calgary's running game coming into this game, but really it seemed like your running game with yourself and Darian made the difference today.
Yeah, I mean, we just came with a game plan. We knew we were going to run the ball some, but we still did a good job through the air. But, yeah, we wanted to make sure to establish the run game on the ground, man. God is good. We came out here, two tough teams came out and played their butts off in some crazy conditions, man, and gave everybody a show, man. Just a blessing. I'm happy that nobody was really injured, and we just had that type of effort.
Talk a bit about the sequence where they first ruled that you would fumble the ball. They replayed it, they reviewed it, gave it back to you. You were off the field for a while, and then you cap it off with a touchdown.
It was a weird situation. I knew I was on the ground, but, you know, sometimes things happen so quick, you know. The refs don't see everything, and I was hoping that they didn't, like, have inconclusive evidence and give Calgary the ball, which it turned out in our favor, and then we finished off the drive with some great plays, mixed it up, and finished it off with a run.
And then late in the game, when you've got just under 3 minutes and you've got to be able to grind it out, you were able to do that as well.
Yes, sir. The O-line did a great job, you know what I mean, just getting a hat on the hat, and receivers were getting downfield, getting some blocks, and I was just finding the holes, man, and moving the sticks.
Look ahead to the Grey Cup and the opportunity to put number 13 behind you.
Yeah, we definitely we got some unfinished business, so we're excited. Hats off to Calgary. They come out and played a great football game, but we're on a mission, man, and we got some unfinished business. So next week.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you,
Chris.
Well, that call last year was the 13th man that cost the Roughriders. The call that Wes talked about today went in the Riders' direction, and it will be talked about a lot here. It was a very difficult call to overturn, but on a challenge, the Riders maintained possession of the football on what looked like a fumble, and they drive the field for a winning score.
And the Calgary Stampeders, a 13-win season. They got the bye to the final. Henry Burris, though, now 0-4 against his old team in the postseason.
Well, what a thriller it was, 20-16. Roughriders win it in the Western Final. Let's head back down to the field. Dave Randorf with the trophy presentation.
I am surrounded by guys who are going back to the Grey Cup. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are going back to face the Montreal Alouettes to make the official presentation for the West Division Championship. Here is the Chief Operating Officer from the Canadian Football League, Michael Copeland.
On behalf of the Canadian Football League and our Board of Governors, it is my pleasure to present the 2010 Western Division Championship Trophy to the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I'm gonna get the head coach over here. Come on over here, Ken. We're gonna make our way out of the crowd. Here we are. I got the head coach, Ken Miller, with me right now. Ken, you're going back. After all the heartbreak on this field a year ago, tell us how you're feeling.
I'm just so proud of this football team. What a great team effort that was. Great defense, played some offense pretty good at times, and we got the job done. I'm just so proud of us. It's all about mental toughness and just being a great team.
Tell us about the decision to challenge the call in the third quarter on the fumble by Wes Cates.
Well, I thought he was down, and then the players said, "Coach, he was down," and so there wasn't any choice. I had to make that challenge.
How difficult was it under the conditions with the weather here today for all the players concerned?
Well, I'll tell you, we practiced well in the same kind of weather, so I'm not surprised that we played well in it.
You're going back with a chance for redemption against the team that took it from you a year ago.
We're really looking forward to that opportunity.
We'll see you in Edmonton, Coach.
Thanks so much.
Ken Miller and the Saskatchewan Roughriders win 2016. Back upstairs to Chris and Glenn.
Thank you, David. A much different story here at McMahon for the Roughriders than last November. Time now for the TSN turning point, and this was a huge one as well.
Yeah, you never know what play is going to be a difference maker. You got to play hard on every one of them. Jarrell Freeman on this fumble by Ryan Grice-Mullen on a punt return, hustles to the football and saves the day for Saskatchewan. If Calgary recovers that in the end zone, they take the lead. They don't when Jarrell Freeman hustles back.
What a game for Jarrell Freeman. The TSN Turning Point is brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. So it is Saskatchewan and Montreal. They split their 2 games. We mentioned the unbelievable Canada Day season opener. Alouettes prevailing in Montreal, and we get to see the same matchup as a year ago.
Darian Durant now leading his football team to the championship game in both of his first 2 years as a starter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They get the rematch that they've been thinking about all season long. They haven't wanted to talk about how it ended last year, but they've been thinking about it. It's been in the back of their mind. They're going back.
Well, a team that lost 4 straight late in the year, Rider Nation, was losing faith, but Darian Durant and the Roughriders battle back, and they're headed to the 2010 Grey Cup, where they'll meet the Montreal Alouettes, winners today earlier decisively over the Toronto Argonauts. Montreal, Saskatchewan, the 2010 Grey Cup next Sunday. So long from McMahon Stadium. Football Night in America is next.